too small, I got big dreams.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Pun Fun, where we have fun with the puns. My name is Ryan, and we're going to check out episode 2 of the Marvel series Moon Knight. If you haven't seen episode 2 of the Marvel series Moon Knight, you definitely want to check it out because there's going to be crazy spoilers coming along. This also being said, if you're a subscriber to our channel, we had episode 1 that basically broke down episode 1 with a lot of input of who these characters that we see in the series. We also had All You Need to Know Before the Show, which kind of also helps you, or is going to help you digest everything going forward. Alright, so we're going to start off by talking about Locker 43, and I know you're like, hey, doesn't this episode start off where like he's getting, fired? Yeah, there's all that, but I mean, you've seen the episode, we're not going to get into that. What we need to focus on is why there's such importance into Locker 43. We're also going to talk about his wife, or soon-to-be ex-wife, Layla. She has a big role, and she's going to play a big role as well, and why Marc Spector actually, ghosted her for so long. We're also going to talk about the MacGuffins, set up by Emmett, so Emmett's MacGuffins. This can be the scarab, or the compass, if you will, and it can also be the, Emmett's pimp stick. This is where Emmett may have had somebody curate this for her, being, maybe the first avatar that they've mentioned so often so far. And I think we have a clear indication of who it is. There's a lot of elements that we see through Loki and also through WandaVision. We'll get to that in a couple of seconds. That kind of helps us support that theory. And finally, we're going to compare what we're seeing so far, the comic books versus the MCU version. So basically Earth 616 versus Earth 1999. Not necessarily, getting a crude, fanboy thing, but really seeing how in one universe there were 5 personalities. Now it seems like there's only going to be maybe 2 with a suit, and then there's Khonshu, but then where's Jake? Anyways, we'll get into that. Maybe there's going to be some more clarifications, but there's only 4 episodes left. Now, first of all, for at Locker 43, we have Stephen Grant finally finds Locker 43. Now, first of all, the 43, I was looking through some of the books, and I was like, you know what? There isn't, like, if you were to look up the comic book issue 43, there's nothing really that stands out except for, like, these faces on the cover. And if you look into it, it's not really much that has to do with the book so far. However, if you look at Werewolf by Night, so that's where Moon Knight first appeared, and the series actually ends at issue 43. There's some importance to that and some significations. So when I did actually read that comic once more, because it's, who remembers all of these other books? And quite frankly, I don't think I haven't read any of the Werewolf by Night except for the ones with Moon Knight. Anyways, there's nothing really crazy or that ties into the MCU. It's really just, something of old, and that's what the Locker is. It's all about his past. It's all about, his mercenary life, the way even the place is set up. It's all about the way he once lived. It really is the past of Marc Spector. And coincidentally enough, right after that issue, the first issue that comes out it's Moon Knight's his own comic book. There's no longer, appearances and whatever. He has his own comic book. So a new fresh start and a new face. Well, not a new face, but it's his own storyline, basically. There is one big Easter egg that I thought was very clever on Marvel's behalf, is the QR codes. Now, they're kind of everywhere. Well, there's a few places that we see them clearly. And first time I did see it, it was at the museum. I didn't pay much attention to it. I figured it was actually part of that museum, meaning like you go sometimes to a museum, there's an exposition going on, you can scan the QR code, and it's maybe going to tell you what the exhibition is about. Maybe you'll hear, somebody giving you the tour, if you will, of whatever exhibit is going on right now. However, Marvel came up with where you were to scan that QR code, it actually took you to the first appearance of Moon Knight. So this was issue 32 of Werewolf by Night. And when I first actually heard of this, it was, I think, like April Fool's Day. So I was kind of like, nah, this, good job on trying to convince it. I did go ahead and scan it, and it's actually really legit. It's by Marvel, and it really is, that issue, a digital copy that you can, read. So I definitely suggest, if you haven't read it yet, go ahead and do so. In the second episode, you also get another QR code, which is actually on the front cover, I think, of the Locker 43 once again, and that takes you to issue 33, where that story actually continues. So you definitely want to go ahead and take advantage of some free comic books, and they're digital copies, so you don't need to, go out to your local comic book store to get them. However, I do suggest you go to your local comic book store anyways and pick up some comic books. I mean, that's how you support them, right? So let's get into the second part, and by all means, this is really, Marc Spector's better half, who is Layla. And in this, as we mentioned in the first episode, she got renamed. So in the comics, she was named Marlon, and this comic is actually named Layla. So Layla is Marc Spector's wife, or soon to be divorcee, as the episode kind of dictates. Why is he doing so? I'm pretty sure it's to protect her. I'm pretty sure Khonshu right now is taking over, some mind real estate, and he's now breaking barriers, and where once Stephen Grant one reside is now able to break through barriers. So the real parasite is actually Khonshu. However, he did grant, pun intended, Marc Spector his life by saying, hey, I'll give you back your life if you let me, use you as an avatar. That was an easy deal. It was like, bargaining with the devil. Khonshu isn't evil because he's all about the vengeance. However, he's not all about, the host and the survival of the host. It's all about, the now and then and what you've done for me lately, and then it's on to the next once, he's taking what he has. So it's not by any means a symbiotic, relationship. So he's trying to save Layla from being not affected, but having Khonshu take over, because that's the next step. The next step is actually having Layla, have Khonshu reside into her mind. She is definitely, up for the fight. You can see that she has skills, maybe not as much as a mercenary, but maybe just enough. And with the power of Moon Knight, become this next badass, right? So that is maybe, or the reason why Marc Spector did what he did. Let's get into Ammit's MacGuffins. So in this case, it is the scarab that, everyone's been looking for in episode 1. We also see it in episode 2 as well. So we now know that it's actually a compass. It opens up and actually points to what we believe to is Ammit's tomb. By all means, Arthur may be, seeking where to actually find Ammit. And then, basically either be judged by her or to be fully possessed. Now, I'm not saying that right now Arthur is possessed by Ammit to a certain degree. What I do believe is that while Arthur was possessed by Khonshu, it allowed him to now see things that he was not able to see before. So, for example, the jackal, only those who had the power of Khonshu, or maybe the power of the gods, can see other things that came through that pocket dimension, as we said, was Heliopolis. So that portal that we see that opens up, and we'll get into a couple of seconds more importance to that portal, the jackal that comes through may be from that pocket universe. However, Khonshu had either left, or Arthur had seen what Khonshu was up to in terms of his own mental state, and said, I'd rather move on to somebody else, or maybe somebody more powerful came along and he was like, I'd rather serve that person. Their vengeance, or their justice, if you will, is the type that allured him the most, whatever. Anyways, this being said, they may be seeking to either rule it, or to, I don't know, maybe there's great powers beyond whatever it is, or maybe that god is seeking vengeance against the other gods. We're gonna find out as we go forward. Now, Khonshu wanting to now go after it, maybe there's something else that is there for him, or be able to stay alive. I have no idea where they're going with that. I mean, the books haven't been really clear. They just said that, there are, Egyptian gods, and now we find ourselves in Egypt at the end of the episode. So clearly, I'm hoping, anyways, that's where the compass carried them. So we'll see in due time, but that's our hunch for now of, as to why and what's there. Yeah, it could just be like that. That's like where the actual portal is in and out, kind of like in Shang-Chi, with their own little portal going in and out of the universe, with the purple stuff. We're also going to talk about the staff, or Ammit's staff in this case. So that staff, when used by Arthur, we saw that it actually opened up a portal which brought in the jackal, so definitely from episode 1 as well. Now, having that kind of power, we did see this purple lights and colors to it. You would think that's the Power Stone, but we've also seen this within WandaVision. So Agatha actually opens, was using the Chaos powers via Catan, which had this purple smoky kind of feel. We also see this whole purple thing as well within No Way Home. So when Doctor Strange was kind of closing up the rifts throughout interdimensional people that wanted to come through, it was also very chaotic, and it's like purple light everywhere. Anyways, what I'm trying to get with all this is that we do have this, very symmetrical, very calculated, mathematical type, portal that gets created, very technological and not as chaotic as the other ones for say. You would think somebody who had a lot of knowledge and who has seen all this has now tampered and now perfected the way to basically open up these portals, or to, kind of utilize the magic in a technological way as a certain Kang the Conqueror would do. Now, we do know that Rama-tut was a pharaoh, back when, and that could potentially be, and I would think, it confirms that he was the first Avatar because of this as well. It lends to that somebody with, advanced technology comes in into, a certain time and cause a lot of chaos. Now, Ammit probably had to create her judgment on Kang, and then Kang realized, no, there's some bad stuff that I want to do, or bad stuff that I am going to do. So instead of having Ammit, fight or eat him or destroy him, he ended up, either disowning or abandoning that, possession and going on to bigger and better things. However, understanding the magic, the power to see ahead of time, kind of like in a TVA, where he's like, hey, there's a group of people that also can see, time and, do whatever it is they're doing, and have a call and judgment of who gets locked up, who gets, pruned and all that. So again, he's placed in this situation where he's all about, the judgment of people beforehand. And the fourth phase is all about the judgment, because even with the Eternals, we also now have Ashram that's also going to go and, have judgment on what the Eternals did on Earth, by destroying, one of their own. It is just crazy, and I'm really hoping it is Rama-tut. Like I said, I'm hooked on him. I'm only hope that they bring it forward, or at least later on, they kind of explain all this together. But just the fact, like I said, of these little hints and Easter eggs that we've seen throughout other shows now come forward and give a really nice explanations that it's not just about, multiverses and variants, and no, there's gonna be a huge build up to who this villain is. So I'm loving it, and we haven't even, we did see him, but we haven't seen much of him except for that last episode, the season finale. Now, that staff may belong to a bigger device, kind of like how we see it, on him. Now, also talking about a flash from the past, we also get more backstory on Marc Spector and all the stuff that he did. So they accused him of executing those archaeologists, which is, and he says, it's kind of complicated. The thing is that it's actually him and his partner Duchamp, which was in his phone, as mentioned, go on this they go on this, I guess they're gonna rob like tombs and whatnot. With our archaeologists, they actually find the tomb that they're looking for. Now, Bushman, and he's actually the villain that kills all the archaeologists, leaves Marc Spector to die, and that's where Khonshu comes in and actually says, hey, I can give you life, I can save you if you allow me to be your avatar. So we are, or potentially will see Bushman, I'm hoping anyways, and not just get stuck with Arthur. However, maybe they're going to collide both, characters together, or know that, they may have worked in tangent, or maybe not at all. That's where we come in with the MCU stuff versus the comic book stuff and how they kind of differ. Now, as we've mentioned in the past 2 episodes, there are 5 personalities within the one character. Now, however, it kind of seems that it's very selective. So if they're one of the one characters, they have a certain persona that comes out. So if he's Marc Spector, he becomes Moon Knight. If he's Steve Lockley, then he becomes Mr. White, which, by the way, was a great rendition of him. Great, I'm sure this is going to be the costume or cosplay of the summer, maybe even throughout all of Halloween as well. Just a white suit with the white mask, and even with this the type of scarring to show the duality. Well done. I mean, that was amazing. So we are gonna wrap things up with Stephen with a V, Grant. I mean, a man with such a big heart, but definitely naive. I mean, I'm sure he's gonna find himself or find his way at the end of the series. But even when they had this situation with Layla and himself, with Mark, and he's like, wait, how can you leave someone like this? And he's such a twit. obviously not knowing everything, but you can see that he was definitely heartbroken. I mean, to the point that he even like hugged Crawley. So again, the statue, the golden statue, and the statue was like, what's going on? I mean, Marc probably never even reached out or, even like, shook the man's hand or anyways. That is also his, kind of his downfall, seeing that he was able to be trapped within that mirror type world. Obviously, there's going to be a switch. I'm not sure what or how. It may be Marc is not familiar with this setting or world, and he needs now for Steven, of all people, to come in to kind of, figure out what's going on in the streets, because that's what it was kind of about, right? So Moon Knight had different personalities, one to understand the high life, the low life, and the people in the streets. So we haven't still seen Jake Lockley. Maybe we won't at all, because of, like I said, these two characters being already suited with their own suit. If they were to bring in a third one, this being Jake, I don't think there's going to be another or a new rendition of a Moon Knight suit for him. And already they're kind of getting the street or the ears of the streets through Steven. So yeah, I don't think they're going to bring in Jake for that reason, and if they do, it may be a third character. Anyways, we'll see what comes out of that. Hopefully that was not too much information, and maybe the show will touch on these points. Maybe other stuff will bring that more light to it. However, hopefully this did give you a leg up going into the series, and we can't wait for episode 3. If you've learned anything today, or if you've enjoyed this episode, I would strongly suggest you hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, or you want to stay on top of anything and everything, especially for episode 3, 4, and 5 going forward, I definitely suggest you hit that subscribe button. And if you know anybody else who would like this kind of content, you definitely want to share it as well. And we're also going to have a contest in our Brian Baugh episode, so you don't want to miss that. I mean, the giveaways usually are pretty crazy on our channel. So without further ado, guys, take it easy. Peace.